Max Holloway is taking on Dustin Poirier this Saturday for the third time, and hopefully he can finally get his hand raised against Dustin because he's currently 0-2 in their saga. And if he loses this fight, he'll be 0-6 in two different trilogies, which is going to be horrible. Like, you're going up against two fighters 3 different times and you couldn't beat them. I mean, that is a very, very damaging thing to happen to Max Holloway if he does not get his hand raised. But Max Holloway can absolutely get it done, and because he's lost 2 fights to Dustin Poirier, because this is Dustin's last fight, it's supposed to be Dustin's moment, Max Holloway is regarded as the underdog. But in this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about how I think Max Holloway can actually beat Dustin Poirier this Saturday and finally get a win over him. With that being said, let's get right into the first key tricks I have for Max Holloway, and that's going to be during Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 2, I felt like Max Holloway was really trying to get after Dustin Poirier and put the pressure on him and really get in his face and look to fatigue him. But the problem with that was that he would often have success, but eventually Dustin Poirier would clip him with a big shot because Max was still in range to be hit by a powerful shot, and that would often steal rounds for Dustin Poirier. Like, at one point, he was like, Max Holloway was winning the round, but Dustin Poirier ends up like cutting Max Holloway really bad with a cut, and that kind of gave Dustin Poirier the round. Or another time, Max Holloway was putting the pressure on Dustin, landing a lot of shots, but he would get clipped by a big shot, and then the momentum would switch over to Dustin Poirier's favor. So I feel like in this fight, Max Holloway should let Dustin Poirier come to him and then look to use your footwork and movement to get away from those big shots. And then when you see the openings, that's when you can take them. And I feel like Justin Gaethje did this really well against Dustin Poirier in their second fight. And I felt like Islam Makhachev did a great job of this as well. And this is going to be important for another key to victory I have that we're going to be talking about later on. But moving on to the next key to victory I have for Max Holloway, and that's going to be now, Dustin Poirier is a very powerful fighter, and he does have a bit of a wide base, and I feel like his legs are open to be really kicked. And I would say for Max Holloway to go for outside leg kicks to kind of take Dustin Poirier slightly out of his stance and take some power away from those shots, because in the first or in the second fight, it seemed like whenever Dustin was like really tagging him, he was hurting Max Holloway a lot. So take some power away and start to like destroy the foundation of Dustin Poirier, starting with the legs. Moving on to the next key to victory I have for Max Holloway, and that's going to be in the second fight. Max Holloway was actually having quite a bit of success with the body shots. He was tagging Dustin Poirier up with some nice punches to the body, and it seemed like he was starting to slow down Dustin Poirier quite a bit. And by the end of the fight, it looked like Max was a fresher fighter. And I think he should look to implement this strategy in the rematch, but this time, don't just punch only, use your kicks as well. And Max Holloway, he is a bigger fighter, he has longer legs, so use those front kicks to the body to really slow Dustin Poirier down, just like Charles Oliveira did. And use the knees. He was using knees in the first fight as well, but maybe make it a bigger part of your strategy to really slow Dustin Poirier down. And also, you weren't really able to hurt him too much, and Dustin is a very durable fighter, so start to break his foundation. First, we're going to attack his legs, then we're going to attack his body, and then the head will follow, and it'll be a lot easier to get a finish over Dustin Poirier. Moving on to the next key territory I have for Max Holloway, and that's going to be now, I feel like Max Holloway, whenever he's under attack, he kind of like reaches out for punches, and he doesn't really have like a high guard, but he'll just extend his hand out there, and he's still able to get clipped by shots that come over the top of his shoulder. And Dustin Poirier was tagging him a lot in the second fight with a lot of punches that were landing clean and were hurting Max Holloway way too often. And now Max Holloway is coming off the first knockout loss of his career. So is his chin still going to be the same? Is he still going to be able to take those big shots because we know Dustin Poirier is very dangerous, and Dustin has gotten a lot better with his finishing ability and just the sharpness of his punches. So Max Holloway is going to have to be careful in this one and keep a higher guard and to protect himself a lot better. Because if he doesn't, he runs the risk of not only losing 3 times to Dustin Poirier, but losing to Dustin in 3 different ways. With the first time by submission, the second by decision, and the third by knockout. So Max Holloway is going to have to keep a higher guard to protect himself a lot better. Moving on to the next key to victory I have for Max Holloway, and that's going to be... Earlier, I talked about how I felt like Max Holloway should be the Matador. He should let Dustin Poirier be the one to attack first and move away from him. And that's because Dustin Poirier, whenever he does punch, he does put a lot into his punches. He's looking to finish you. But a lot of the times, he is vulnerable to getting hit because either his hands don't come up by his chin to protect him, he stays in range, or maybe he just flat out puts himself out of position by like putting himself in a screwed up stance, and he can't be countered and really hurt because he's not in a strong sense or in a strong position to defend himself. This is something that happens quite often in Dustin Poirier's fights, but I felt like it happened a little bit more often when he was the one that was pressuring his opponents or being the aggressor, and his opponents were able to counter him very well and hit him really clean. And Max Holloway isn't the biggest puncher. He does hit harder in the lightweight division, but still he might not be able to really hurt Dustin Poirier. But if he can force Dustin Poirier to miss on a strike and then come back and hit him with a counterattack, I think he can actually hurt Dustin Poirier and potentially start looking for a finish. But moving on to the last key to victory I have for Max Holloway to beat Dustin Poirier, and that's going to be... I think using the right head kick is going to help Max Holloway because, for one, it's going to limit the amount of times that Dustin Poirier is going to be throwing that left straight or that left hand in general, because Dustin Poirier is going to have to be careful about, hold on, he might kick me in the head if my hand is not up and it's not covering me. So I need to protect myself. And also, Max Holloway is going to be attacking the legs and the body, so that's going to be setting up an attack towards the head later on in the fight, as we talked about earlier. So I feel like that head kick is going to be there. And also, we did see Dustin Poirier recently get knocked out by Justin Gaethje with a right head kick. So to keep Dustin Poirier, to get Dustin Poirier's respect, I would say for Max Holloway, blast some kicks to the head. He can't slip out the way of your punches either. So that's going to keep him on the center line for you to hit him and make your boxing combinations a lot easier to land. So blast a head kick right through Dustin Poirier's dome. In the second MMA fight, I felt like Max Holloway was just boxing a little bit too much. He wasn't really kicking that much, but I feel like in this one, he is going to need to use his full arsenal to finally beat Dustin Poirier. But those are my keys to victory for how I think Max Holloway can beat Dustin Poirier. Obviously, he's going to need to do a lot more. And I'm not saying that Max Holloway is winning this fight. I'm just basically building a game plan for him to finally beat Dustin Poirier. If you're interested in seeing my prediction for this fight, make sure you tune in later this week. In 2 days, I'm going to be dropping my prediction for this fight and all the other fights of UFC 318. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. God bless. And I'll see you in the next one.